About that time for American Ganja, man. Smoking.
Hello and welcome once again to the American Ganja Smokecast. I'm your host, Harlem Wood, flying solo this evening, but that's okay. It's still going to be a great show. We're going to address one of the longest standing debates within the cannabis community. Bongs versus blunts. Which one do you really prefer? Which one is better? Which one is worse? Does anyone really know? Is there a right answer? Is there a wrong answer? Well, we're going to get to that today. But first, a little update from the Ganja headlines. Well, I don't know if you've been watching the news, keeping an eye on the political battle in marijuana, but if you're part of the cannabis community and you go wholeheartedly like I do, you probably do keep an eye on these things. But the Senate has delayed voting on medical marijuana, and I'm not really sure. I don't think anybody knows why they are dragging their asses. They don't want to vote on anything that says marijuana on it, apparently. And, I mean, obviously they have to be opening their eyes to some extent. We're already 25 states in that have legalized medical marijuana. That's half the country, so, I mean, the other half is at some point going to follow suit. So I think it's about time that the federal government finally gave up the fight and gave in to give people something other than poison. Because that's exactly what modern medicine is. It's poison. If you ever really notice, there are so many more things that could go wrong when you take a medication. Have you ever paid attention to the television when you hear about a new drug being offered for something? I mean, in some cases, most of these cases, the medications have side effects that are far worse than the symptoms that it's supposed to be treating. So, what are they really trying to accomplish here? And medical marijuana offers so much more and so much little on the side of side effects. So at some point, I know that they're starting to see the facts come clear. You know, they're starting to see it in legislation within the states and everything. They're starting to see all these changes. They're starting to see the changes in the public. The whole society right now is starting to change and become a little bit more positive thinking toward marijuana and the legalization of it. And at the same time, you know, they gotta understand, they feeling their pocketbooks moving. You know, if they don't see the economical benefit, then there's nothing that we can do at all. I mean, when it comes down to it, I don't need to go over the numbers with you guys. You guys already probably know, and I've said it a couple of times already, how much money the medical marijuana industry is worth to the United States economy. You know, Congress is going to open those blinded eyes at some point, and they are going to give people what they want. Good, clean marijuana that can actually heal people and help people and do some wonderful things without destroying them with all kinds of poisons. And that is what I wanted to say before we get into the bongs versus blunt debate right now. You know, these days there are so many different ways to actually smoke and enjoy your herb. But for the longest, there has been this long-standing debate whether bongs are better than blunts or whether blunts are better than bongs. I mean, you know, people have actually been going over this for decades now, and for probably as long as bongs have been around. Now, one thing I can say, this right now, we're going to concentrate right now on the pros of actually smoking a joint, because see, I am a joint master, self-proclaimed joint master, and I can back that up, by the way. Look, I prefer joints over bongs. Everybody knows that. If you see my Instagram, go get Ganja. You can see that I love blunts because I smoke blunts and I prefer Dutch Master. Okay? So, now, number one, I think joints are definitely a lot easier to conceal than pipes or bongs. Because, I mean, honestly, what are you going to do? You're actually walking around with your pipe or your bong every time you want to smoke. I mean, eventually, you're definitely not walking around with your bong. I mean, well, nowadays you probably are, because I saw some shit online. It's like a foldable bong that you can put in your pocket, but still, you know what I'm saying? To some extent, I believe that's got to be, to some bulk. You know what I'm saying? Whereas having a blunt in your pocket is, it's very minimal. Very minimal and very evasive to your pocket. It's not invading the space inside your pocket. You got room for other things. So I think that is one of the actual first point about my take of having a blunt over a bong. That's the first thing, first and foremost. Because, I mean, sometimes you're not always going to be home when you're smoking, And if you go to a friend's house or something, and say, for instance, they're a bong smoker, and you don't like bongs, you have your blunt with you. Take a blunt with you. Or I don't know. I don't know what scenario could come up that would make you not want to smoke a bong, honestly. Because I mean, if I go to a friend's house and they have a bong and say, "Hey, you want to rip?" Yeah, come on. But let's move on, okay? The same point, joints are so much easier for travel, and with the added benefit of not having additional paraphernalia after you're done smoking. That's, to me, the biggest plus. Because once you smoke it, it's gone. There's nothing left. Unless you got some more bud on you, then, at some point you're going to roll up another one and you're going to smoke it, right? So, it's so much easier just not to have all that extra stuff on you, because there are states. I know a lot of my people who listen. I appreciate all of my listeners, by the way. I appreciate all of your comments, but I know a lot of my listeners are on the West Coast. Some are in different countries that possibly have legalized marijuana laws. I really have to check. I don't know the actual geographic locations of all of my audience, but I know there are quite a few of you who listen, and you're on the West Coast where there's legalized marijuana. So it probably isn't that big of a deal to walk around, with paraphernalia. But if you're in the South, and the South isn't that open-minded, as everyone might have noticed over the years, with, paraphernalia on you. So you want to have something that is as portable as possible and is concealable as possible. And that brings us to our next point, which is, well, even better than portability. And that would be the flavor. There are flavored blunts and papers out there that will actually make your smoking experience so much more enjoyable, because there are some awesome flavors. There's some shitty ones out there. I will tell you, there have been some shitty ones that I have tried, and I regret ever tasting them, because the first time you're going to taste it is when you take out the package and you lick that blunt to try to get it wet. And some of those are disgusting. And if you heard the last show, my blunt review, you know exactly which brand that I'm definitely talking about. And there's more than one. There's not just that one, okay? There's more than one. I'm not going to tell you which brand it is, because you should be listening to my show. Anyway, that little jokey joke there. But I know a lot of people really choose bongs for one reason over blunts, because they really don't know how to roll. And if you don't know how to roll, I could really see why you would need a bong or a bowl. But learning how to roll isn't that hard. And with all of the tools out there on the market nowadays, you don't even have to know how to roll anymore. You know, there's so many different companies that make these little rolling things. I don't know exactly what to call them. I know that, you know, they make it so much easier for anyone, even experienced rollers, to roll a blunt. So that is something that I would not even put on a plus or minus for either side, because I would say everyone should at least be able to access the ability to roll a joint or a blunt, you know? So I say you know a whole lot. But anyway, how often really do you see people out and about and they're at like a concert or something and they're smoking a blunt? You see that a lot, right? How about bongs? Why do you think this is? I think I know the answer, and I think you can pretty much come up with the answer so far. You're on your own. I don't even have to say that. Now, one of the debates is that rolling your weed is a lot more sanitary. I'm not sure about that, even though there are more ways to be more sanitary when you do roll a blunt, because nowadays you don't even have to use your spit anymore. I saw a video on Instagram where I saw someone using some type of moistener. It came in a bottle to seal their blunt. Now, if you ask me, that's pretty damn sanitary. And I kudos to the company that came up with that. I mean, honestly, I don't know if I would want to have something extra on me to roll a joint. I just roll it the old-fashioned way. Hell, I've been rolling for years. But for someone who's new to rolling and is concerned about sanitary issues, that's something definitely to look into. I don't know where to get it. I just saw it in the video. But if you happen to know someone who knows someone who knows someone, or you know how it goes, maybe you can find out on your own. Ask around. But I really prefer blunts, because honestly, in emergency situations, blunts can offer you something that a bong cannot, and that is roaches. I'm not talking about the kind that you spray Raid on. Not at all, not at all. I'm talking about those beautiful little tidbits that are left over after you finish your blunt. Now, depending on how much of it you actually smoke on a regular basis, you might actually have a decent piece of weed left over at the end of your getting high journey. So, some people throw them away, others keep them for a rainy day. Now, I learned from a friend a long time ago the value of keeping your roaches, because sometimes you're gonna have dry days. Every smoker has dry days. You know, either you have no money or you have no access. There is some reason why there would be a time when you don't have weed. So this is when you look to your ashtray and you think about all those big ass blunts that you smoked. The ones that you rolled up nice and fat, because you and all your buddies were going to toke it, or you were going to go it alone, and you just wanted to chief like a fucking champ. Now think about this. If you don't save your roaches, when you think about those big ass blunts and you don't have any weed, guess what? It's going to hurt your feelings a little bit. But if you save your roaches, and you look over in that ashtray, or wherever it is that you keep your roaches, you're going to say, hey, hello, friend. because that old friend, plus, a couple more, depending on how big, how small, whatever, you can bust those suckers open and create an entirely different smoking experience. And for the dabbers out there and the moon rockers, that is exactly what happens when you smoke a roach joint. It's basically the same thing. You let all of that resin in those roaches has built up and become even more potent than the bud itself. So when you do bust those things open, it's going to be pretty sticky. You'll notice, even if your weed was dry as fuck, if it was dry as the Sahara Desert when you started, after you finish smoking, that thing is going to be moist. There's reasons to all of this. It's because that plant right there has created something marvelous, even better than the dry bud that it already has in its current state before you lit it up. Once you light it up, all of that goodness comes to the surface and it ends up at the tip of your blunt. And if you save your roaches, you already know you are going to have a marvelous time when you fire that bad boy up. So, enough about that. The only thing I can say is that I prefer blunts. You may prefer bongs, but next week we're going to discuss why bongs may be a better choice. I don't know if it is actually the case, but we're going to talk about it next week, okay? So be sure to tune in. I want to thank you guys for tuning in this week. I want to thank you for subscribing. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for commenting. Thank you guys. I'll be reading some comments on a future episode. So if you have any comments on this show or a past show, leave some comments below and we'll get to those in a future episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to the American Ganja Smokecast. This is our Smokeout Song of the Week, Loud by Molly. See you next week.
Molly. Got my nigga Copper on the building. My bitch loud. My click loud. My whip loud. My split loud. Yeah. Everything loud. Yeah. Everything loud. My hoe loud. I blow loud. My clothes loud. I'm so loud. Yeah. Everything loud. Yeah. Everything loud. Weed loud with my Dre beats. I'm running shit like 8 cleats. Dark tips on my Ray B's. I see it clear like HD. These niggas hating, these niggas faking. Building shit, we renovating. Money high, we demonstrating. We throwing dice, never been debating. Niggas sang like Anita Baker. Suck my dick when she need a favor. Cali purple like we the Lakers. Smoking loud, we team Jamaica. Bumper clot with that heater on. I'm summer hot. Young nigga, I'm touching guap. I do the dash like fuck a cop. I'm a nigga with an attitude. Easy E. Looking in the mirror, all I see is me. Hoes trying to see a check, all they see is D. Blowing money fast like all the niggas seen was me. I'm standing tall like Linden Trail. Bars never been to jail. Clutching on the 10 to 12. Boy, you ever been to hell? Yeah. All you lame niggas quiet up. I like my bitches red and loud like a fire truck. My bitch loud. My click loud. My stick loud. My split loud. Yeah. Everything loud. Yeah. Everything loud. My hoe loud. I blow loud. My clothes loud. I'm so loud. Yeah. Everything loud. Yeah. Everything loud. I turn up when I burn up. In all black like my burner. Grinding cause I need my pockets sitting fat like Sherman. A precious gold medal gang, we never second. Better change your plan, bitch, if you ain't get the message. This the type of loud that'll make a nigga selfish. Jumping out the foreign, feeling like a black Elvis. Baby, we can fuck just as long as you're healthy. Money on my mind with that metal on my pelvis. And yeah, nigga smoking. Everything potent. The young nigga seen more O's than a token. Suck me, no choking. Raider like Oakland. All these fucking ashes. Pass me the low. my self-esteem, I fell asleep. Blame the lean, we ran your hoe. Blame the team, I'm at her face. Maybelline, yeah, and all you lames ain't quiet yet. You can smell the weed and I ain't even light it yet. My bitch loud, my click loud, my whip loud, my split loud. Yeah, everything loud. Yeah, everything loud. My hoe loud, I blow loud, my clothes loud, I'm so loud. Yeah, everything loud. Yeah, everything loud.
It's about that time for American Ganja Man.
Hello, everybody. This is Harlem Wood, host of American Ganja Smokecast, reminding you to tune in for new episodes every Friday. Listen and subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, or your favorite app on your Android or iOS device. In the meantime, learn more about us on our website at americanganja.thisisharlemwood.com.